Hello everyone. Before we start today's video, if you could all do me a solid and lightly tap the like button, perhaps share the video about and leave a comment. If you are not subscribed, subscribe as well. It would greatly help this channel. Thank you very much. Well, isn't this just fantastic? Captain's Log, subdate 220707.8. With the Ralpha mail down, we've started bombarding him with enough Echo Tricky to drop 50% of the human population. Once this course is complete, we're going to implement a shrink ray. Oh, and salvage Ensign Bork. Hello everyone, welcome to the exhibition of stupid people. Today you may notice we're outside a house called Number 10, more notably Number 10 Downing Street. It is arguably one of the most famous buildings in the United Kingdom because this is where the Prime Minister works. Loosely. We are here because after 2.5 years, barely that, of being in office, Boris Johnson is about to make an announcement. So I think we should just wait here and talk about issues that may have caused him to reconsider his position as Prime Minister. And I'm going to insert a disclaimer now. When it came to getting Brexit done, Boris was the right person to do it, which is why he won the biggest mandate since Margaret Thatcher, the biggest majority since the 1970s. Boris Johnson did get it done, but in the process he has also reneged on a few agreements as part of him getting Brexit done. According to the BBC, there are 5 reasons that Boris has suffered his downfall. The first is a lack of focus and ideas. Boris Johnson won his thumping majority on the back of a clear, easy-to-follow policy, get Brexit done. But since then, his critics believe there was a lack of focus and ideas in Downing Street. His ex-advisor, Dominic Cummings, repeatedly accused him of being an out-of-control shopping trolley, veering from position to position. Others questioned the Prime Minister's philosophy. In June, Jeremy Hunt accused Boris Johnson of lacking integrity, competence, and vision. Those words were spoken just before Boris Johnson won a no-confidence vote. But much like Theresa May winning her no-confidence vote, yeah, it was inevitable, really. Add to that Conservatives, owing to a number of scandals, have continually lost by-elections, some of which they have held, positions, counties, districts, whatever, they've held them, constituency, that was the word, they've held for an incredibly long time, which has led many to believe that Boris doesn't know how to win an election and maintain his position. But that's what I call politics, really. The second, the Owen Patterson row. In October of 2021, a House of Commons committee recommended a 30-day suspension of Owen Patterson. The committee said he broke lobbying rules to try to benefit companies who paid him. The Prime Minister voted to pause the suspension and set up a new committee to look at how investigations were carried out. Patterson, because of the outcry, just ended up resigning anyway, with Boris Johnson later admitting that he crashed the car in his handling of the case. This was like when he won the no-confidence vote. He then looked at the ministerial code and changed it so when you break it, you don't have to resign. It is applicable here in that same sense of, well, we'll just change that goalpost a little. In 2022, the cost of living has gone right up. Inflation has risen to a current rate of 9.1%. Many of the reasons are outside of Boris Johnson's control. For example, Russia invading Ukraine, which has led to a price rise in oil and cost of food. The government has taken some steps by cutting fuel duty by 5 pence per litre, but it also went ahead with the tax rise in April, with national insurance going up by 1.25 pence in the pound. And by the way, that 5p per litre cut in duty, the fuel companies just slapped that 5 pence on anyway. In fact, some petrol stations actually have polls to see how much their fuel goes up daily. Because while serious, even they need to try and find a way to laugh at this. The government said the tax rise would pay for health and social care, and changes that kicked in this week softened the blow. But anyone earning more than £34,000 a year will still pay more. And by the way, 34 grand a year isn't much in this country. Cost of living, unregulated rent prices really haven't helped. Keir Starmer had said, in the middle of the worst cost of living crisis for decades, the government chooses to increase taxes on working people. Accurate. Next on the list would be Partygate, In April of this year, the Prime Minister was fined for breaking lockdown rules after attending a gathering on his birthday in June of 2020. He also apologised for going to a Bring Your Own Booze party in the Downing Street Garden during the first lockdown. The Met Police issued 126 fines to 83 people for breaking rules in Downing Street and Whitehall, and a report by Sue Gray, who is a senior civil servant, described a series of social events by political staff that broke lockdown rules, stating the senior leadership at the centre, both political and official, must bear responsibility for this culture. Last December, Boris had said that all guidance was completely followed in number 10. He is now currently still being investigated by a Commons committee as to whether or not he knowingly misled Parliament. By the way, doing that is a breach of the ministerial code, but you can't accuse anyone in the Commons of doing that, or you'll end up like Ian Blackford and yeeted from the Commons repeatedly for calling a Prime Minister a barefaced liar. You cannot challenge their integrity, apparently. The final one, the nail in the coffin, that led to over 50 resignations and essentially an entirely new cabinet. On Wednesday the 29th of June, Chris Pincher, MP, Conservative Deputy Chief Whip, went to a private members' club in London. In his words, he drank far too much and embarrassed himself. He was accused of groping two men, which led to a flurry of allegations, some dating back years. Some of those statements were read in PMQs yesterday, and they are quite distressing. I am not going to read them here, but I will link the stream down below. Go show it some love. Downing Street had initially said that Boris Johnson was not aware of specific allegations about Chris Pincher before appointing him as Deputy Chief Whip in February. Ministers reiterated this line. It was a lie. On the 4th of July, the BBC reported that Boris Johnson had been aware of a formal complaint. The next day, Lord MacDonald, a former civil servant, said that the Prime Minister had been told of the complaint. Boris then admitted he had been told in 2019 and apologised for appointing Chris Pincher as Deputy Chief Whip, a man who has since been suspended and is under investigation, by the way. Oh, losing the whip. Ooh, wow, frightening stuff for him, I'm sure. Point is, he crossed the line and Boris knew about it. There were allegations that Boris said a few things about Chris Pincher being a bit handsy. Whether that's true or not, I cannot say, because it is speculative, alleged. With the rules repeatedly being flouted, with the Prime Minister doing his own thing essentially, getting caught out far too many times, the party is divided. It's why the no confidence vote happened and why Boris barely clung on. The theory was that when he won with the majority he had at that point, which is marginal by the way, he would be out within a few months. Well, about that.
Hi everybody. Good afternoon everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you. It is clearly now the will of the Parliamentary Conservative Party that there should be a new leader of that party and therefore a new Prime Minister. And I've agreed with Sir Graham Brady, the chairman of our backbench MPs, that the process of choosing that new leader should begin now. And the timetable will be announced next week. And I've today appointed a cabinet to serve, as I will, until a new leader is in place.
During Boris Johnson's resignation speech, at no point during any of it does he emulate the YouTuber by saying the two magical words and then subsequently undermining it. In fact, he places the blame of all of this on herd mentality, tribalism I guess, instead of accepting that the buck stops with him and he has cocked up far too many times in a very short space of time. It is possible he will still be Prime Minister until November. It is always possible. Whoever takes his place, I have no idea really, but it is quite fascinating to see how this unfolds going forward. There is one point that always gets brought up when the Prime Minister leaves like this by resigning, and it is that the new Prime Minister doesn't have a mandate. Actually, the party has the mandate. The face of the party doesn't have any mandate at all because we don't elect the leader, we elect a majority. That is how our system has worked. So to people like Keir Starmer who are desperate for an election, I'm afraid you will have to wait 2.5 years, unless the Conservatives get incredibly cocky. For Boris Johnson, it's a strange thing to see this all unfold. He started breaking rules the moment he brought in prorogation, which was dubbed illegal because he was trying to use it to force Brexit through, because he lost nearly every single vote in his first month in office. He brought in lockdowns, he himself having coronavirus, knowing fully well the damage it causes, to then turn up at a party, which didn't look good at all. He got caught out with appointments, people who themselves got done for sexual harassment, or later went on to get done for sexual harassment. That, and with the obvious issues of cost of living, the country right now, with him in charge, is frustratingly untenable. The Conservatives like to believe that they are the government of low tax. The problem they now have is, with inflation and everything else going up, they're going to have to do something that they don't want to do to fix the problem. And it means hurting their friends. You know, the same friends that basically dictate what they can do anyway, at least until a general election, and then we get stuck in a position of, but which one is the lesser of two evils when both absolutely suck?